get rid of some players to reduce the wage bill. He did that. We asked him to sell some players and raise over 200,000. He did that. We asked him to keep us up, and he did that. Good job we didn't ask him for 4 things, really, isn't it?
Here's Wise with the free kick. And it's in there! Well, Sanchez has put Wimbledon ahead.
It was the match everybody expected newly crowned champions Liverpool to win at a canter. But Lawrie Sanchez had other ideas, and his well-taken goal turned the form book upside down as unfancied Wimbledon clinched the 1988 FA Cup final. 11 years on, Sanchez has taken on his first Football League managerial position and once again has created the unexpected with an end-of-season blistering finish worthy of champions. The following 105 minutes capture the passage to safety that represents one of the most dramatic seasons Wycombe Wanderers have been involved in since joining the Football League. Relive again all the goals from the Nationwide League and domestic cup competitions, plus exclusive footage of the 30-strong coach invasion to Lincoln on that very last day of the season. Cheered on by a 2,500-strong Blue Army, you will see mission accomplished. You will hear match reports with features on the early season problems, courtesy of ITV's Nationwide Extra. But first, the pre-season friendlies.
All over the top for Stallard, and he's in here. What about the finish? Oh, super goal! Long ball downfield, Stallard just lurking behind the defence. And what a finish by Mark Stallard. Churchill unwittingly taking the ball off him, trying to slide it through to Lombardo. Left-footed poke over to the far side. Churchill with a shot. Oh, that's a super goal. Patient play up to Shipley. Holds the ball up well. Gets away from his marker. Skips inside the challenge of Patton. Shipley going for the return. Marcus Bent. Oh, that's a super goal. Range efforts. Oh, and it's in. Paul Warhurst with a long range effort. Corner comes over. Oh, and Reed going for that one, and there was a miss kick, and the ball, it's in. Oh, and the referee unfortunately had blown for an infringement in the area. And Wycombe have got a penalty kick, most unexpected. If I'd have had the choice, I'd have personally gone for the overhead kick, but penalty kick, Paul Reed. Oh, and he missed. Oh, I say. I think he was trying to blast that one into the roof of the net.
Former Wycombe boss John Gregory brought his Villa side to Adams Park for a pre-season friendly. Naturally, they were very, very strong, and when Julian Joachim coming into the picture now opens up for Villa, it really was all one-way traffic. Wycombe did very well to respond and at some stage almost got themselves back in the game, but not before Stan Collymore had made it 2-0 for the visitors and then went on to celebrate in extravagant style in front of the Wycombe fans. Wycombe were awarded a penalty when Stallard, moving into the box, was tripped, and the referee immediately appointed to the spot, but unfortunately John Cornforth saw his hit splendidly saved by Mark Bosnich. There was more to follow when Joachim wrapped the game up with his third goal towards the end of the match.
Robinson losing the ball out to Winnecombe. It's Mills on the far side now. Mendonca. Oh, deflection coming there. Oh, shot comes in. Oh, and it's there. Redfern. Charlton coming forward once more. Here's Mills on the right-hand side. Skips inside one challenge. Shot by Mendonca. Harkin can have a go at the defence himself, perhaps. Skips past one man, and surely he gets clattered here. Steve Brown with a left-footed shot. Oh, just over. And Mark Bright, bundled to the ground by Jason Cousins. Charlton get on with it quickly. Steve Jones making a good break. Oh, and Moen brings him down. There was only one of two outcomes there. It was either a brilliant defensive challenge or a penalty, and unfortunately it was the latter. Steve Jones scores.
In temperatures of 90 degrees, it was Steve Davis who spoiled Wycombe's opening day of the season with a fantastic free kick to give the Hatters victory at Adams Park. In the newly named Worthington Cup, Wycombe Wanderers are drawn away at Swindon, who take the lead from a well-taken corner early in the first half. But giving the ball away, won by Wycombe in the middle of the field, an excellent ball from Michael Simpson picks out Paul Reed, and his left foot shot into the roof of the net makes it 1-1 for Wycombe Wanderers. The game over two legs, and there's the celebration of the Irish jig, knowing that that's the vital goal to take back to Adams Park. And with the fans really screaming for the Blues to come forward, a long ball through the middle, it's lashed onto the end of it, and Swindon take a 2-1 lead into the second leg at Adams Park.
Keith Stevens, who's been at Millwall all his career, is now trying to make a name for himself in football management at the New Den, and the early signs are encouraging. Paul Shaw almost gave him the lead against Wycombe. Richard Sadlier was there to make sure. Wycombe must have thought they were on their way to a first point of the new season when Paul Reed equalised 20 minutes into the second half. A perfect strike, which had the beating of veteran keeper Nigel Spink. Scott Fitzgerald was Millwall's unlikely match winner. His first goal for the club, and right on the stroke of full time. It's 6 points out of 6 now for Millwall's new boss.
Oh, and Reed getting in behind the defence. Cross comes over. Oh, and Brown might get there. It's there! Steve Brown! Mr. 110%. Arriving at the far post like a missile, and it's game on. Referee waves play on, and here's Walters. Robinson on the outside if he wants him. Here's George and shaping for a shot. Oh, and what another excellent save by Taylor, even better by the fact that it took a deflection. And that will give heart to the Wycombe players and indeed the faithful here this evening. Flick on by Ryan. Reed, oh, and he might overrun it. No, Stallard's coming down on goal now. Mark Stallard still going. Might finish here! Yes, he's done it! Mark Stallard! His first goal of the season. And doesn't he love that? Cross comes over. Oh, and it's in! Moen, Simpson. Oh, and that ball might fall for Rammel here. He's through, and that's number 2. Carroll, been quietly waiting on that left-hand side for another opportunity. Cross comes over. Keeper getting a hand to it, and it's still up for grabs. Header by Moen. It's there!
With just 3 games gone, Wycombe the strongest side in the league, no points holding everybody else up.
York 3, Wycombe 0. Neil Thompson and Richard Cresswell goals had already sorted out the points for York. Player coach Thompson got his second from the penalty spot with a minute to go. Still pointless after 4 games, Saturday left Wycombe reeling from their worst start to a season in 50 years. It was York's second win in a row. They're climbing.
It's taken Wycombe 5 games to break their duck. They got off the mark with this first point of the league season thanks to an injury time equaliser. The match appeared to be slipping away from them when, with 6 minutes left, Barry Hales gave Rovers the lead. The points appeared to be heading to the West Country. That was until the 90th minute and Dan Bullman's intervention. The 19-year-old Wycombe substitute equalised with his first ever touch in professional football. Not that he knew too much about it. Bottoms up was the appropriate toast in the Wycombe dressing room afterwards.
After 5 games, Wycombe Wanderers record their first point of the season, courtesy of the backside of Danny Bullman.
Few people believe already, even at this time. Oh, and Harris is through here. Oh, and that's an easy goal.
Wycombe are rock bottom of the table. Only their second point in 7 games came at Burnley, and they had to fight back to get it. Andy Payton's solo effort put Burnley in front, beating debutant keeper Mark Westhead. Westhead was in for Martin Taylor. He was injured in the pre-match warm-up. In fact, 7 of Wycombe's 21-man squad are unavailable at the moment. Fortunately, one of the 14 fit players is Mark Stallard. His equaliser was against the run of play that doubled their points tally.
It's the second round of the Worthington Cup. Middlesbrough at the Riverside Stadium, along with Paul Gascoigne and all the other Borough big stars. And it wasn't too long before Borough carved out a really good opening for Hamilton Rickards to put Middlesbrough into the lead. Wycombe had defended well, but really it was a matter of time before Middlesbrough did score. And right at the end of the game, with just 2 minutes left, a corner headed back into the box, and Uncle Fester's there to spoil the Adams family celebrations. Middlesbrough 2, Wycombe 0. AFC Bournemouth have a good record against Wycombe Wanderers, and when Mark Stallard's loose ball was picked up in the middle of the pitch, everybody knew that this record was likely to continue. The ball was fed in for Fletcher, and his flick cross hit the chest of Mohan into the back of the net to give Bournemouth the lead. Things were to get even worse when, after a throw-in, some good football and the Wycombe defence was left barely exposed, the ball played to the byline, finally crossed in for Keith O'Neill, who made it 2-0.
There was an early shock for Borough at Wycombe, bottom of Division 2, without a win all season and 2-0 down from last week's first leg at the Riverside. The Londoners went in front on the night when Steve Brown stuck one past Marlon Beresford from outside the box. But Borough never really looked like letting the tie slip away, and early in the second half, Paul Gascoigne pinched possession to set up Hamilton Ricard for the Colombian's 6th goal in his last 4 games. 1-1 the final score, Borough going through 3-1 on aggregate.
Another defeat for bottom club Wycombe, made worse by the fact that they went down to a last-minute penalty at Layer Road. All that after Mark Stallard had given them the lead on the hour mark. They must have believed a first league success was about to arrive until Steve Forbes headed Colchester level 5 minutes later. At least Wycombe at that stage had a point to show for their troubles. A respectable draw seemed on the cards until a late penalty awarded for the foul on Mark Sale. David Gregory ended Colchester's sequence of 3 straight draws with a penalty to leave Neil Smiley's team propping up the table.
With just 2 points from their first 9 matches, Wycombe Wanderers travelled to league leaders Fulham, which was always going to be a very hard game. A corner, Coleman's header, and all of a sudden, Fulham are a goal in front. It was going to be a tough game for the Blues. Fulham, with a star-studded team, took their second goal when Steve Hayward sent in a free kick across the face of the Wycombe goal. The kick was parried by goalkeeper Martin Taylor, wasn't cleared by the defence, and Paul Bracewell hammered in, courtesy of a deflection, to give Fulham victory with 2 goals and 3 points.
Wycombe was seconds away from a first league victory when Gary Strotter scored an injury-time equaliser. Neil Smiley's team currently bottom of the league. Their luck looked to be turning when County's Chris Fairclough conceded the penalty. Paul Reed, restored to the first team after injury, accepted the invitation, but keeper Darren Ward saved his effort, only for Michael Simpson to follow up with a rebound. Simpson's first game of the season, he couldn't have asked for better opposition, having previously played at Notts County. The visitors, who'd never won at Adams Park, pressed for a late reply, and Strotter provided it. It was cruel on Wycombe.
Finally, Gillingham's Robert Taylor will enjoy this one. Taylor has had his critics since his £500,000 move from Brentford, but he scored twice against Wycombe. Teammate Mark Saunders beat him onto the score sheet with his first home goal, and Taylor made his mark in first half injury time. Both sides finished with 10 men. Gillingham's Darren Carr and Wycombe's Paul Emblem both saw yellow twice, then red. Gillingham's victory was completed by Taylor's second. A free kick 20 minutes from the end, 3-0. They're the only team in the Football League without a win.
On the 17th of October, we welcomed ITV's Nationwide Football League Extra to Adams Park. Gabriel Clark takes up the story.
Not that long ago, there was a footballing paradise where the sun always shone and the manager could do no wrong. But Martin O'Neill had to leave. A cold front swept in. It's turned into a nasty depression this season. Bottom of Division 2, yet to win a league game. Those were the painful truths Wycombe Wanderers woke up to on Saturday morning. 2 weeks earlier, when Notts County equalised in the dying seconds of the match, the dubious honour of overseeing the club's worst ever start to a season belonged to Neil Smiley.
That was possibly as low as I've been almost in my time in football. You know, in 20 years of football, that was a real low.
3 points from 12 games is certainly not what any boardroom would wish to have. And I mean, everybody starts the season hoping to actually win the league they're in, and we were no different to any other team.
5 years ago, Wycombe were exceptional. A bright young club new to the Football League with a brand new stadium and big ideas. They dashed to promotion in their first season. Then things levelled off. Boom time at the top end of the market had raised the stakes and expectations nationwide, and Wycombe couldn't sustain their frightening pace.
The advent of wages that have come down via the Premier League, Bosman, has made life difficult in any of the 3 divisions in the nationwide, wherever they are.
You've got the likes of Preston, you've got Fulham, you've got Manchester City, you've got Stoke, you've got Reading, Northampton have spent a lot of money, Gillingham have spent a lot of money, and that's only 7 clubs. There's a few others who have spent more than Wycombe, and it's very hard to compete, you know, when teams are spending money like that.
A lot of people joined on the bandwagon when, in the Martin O'Neill days, Wycombe were being very successful at conference level and then took that into the Football League. And maybe they've never experienced what the supporters of the Halifaxes and the Hartlepools and the Rotherhams and all those other clubs know about. They've learned how to cope with failure. I don't think they have at Wycombe yet.
Stuck in the middle is Smiley, ambitious just like O'Neill and John Gregory. For 18 months, Gregory worked with a similar squad and better budget. But Wycombe weren't exactly doing an Aston Villa.
At the end of the day, money makes the world go round, doesn't it? And I feel as a manager there's more pressure on Neil Smiley here than there is on John Gregory at Aston Villa. The pressure on John Gregory now is not to worry about, you know, is his mortgage going to be paid, is the bills going to be paid? It's just basically getting his team ready for the Saturday, whereas Neil Smiley's got to get his team ready for the Saturday, but also as well he knows his success is based on how well the team does and whether he earns more or less.
Sundays are obliterated while there's no results. I'd have to say that. The family take the brunt of it.
When they cross that white line, he can shout from the touchline. They don't hear him. They've got to put the effort in, and they've got to justify their salaries, and they've got to justify the loyalty that's been placed in them by their selection. And I don't think that some of them do that.
It seems the last person any Wycombe fan wants to blame is the figure who's usually the first target. Yet loyalty has to be balanced eventually with points. For his own sake, the nice guy knew he had to start coming first.
Come on, boys, liven up. That's what we need. We need just to change the mood of the place, and then people can look a little bit more optimistically at the future.
It's all about points, isn't it? Ball, back and net and points. And how patient can we be? Well, I think we have a period of stability still to try and get through yet, but we will certainly have to have a look at the situation if it continues in this vein.
I can see that passion and that desire and that anger and the fact that his whole week is ruined when we lose a game. And I think if you've got that spark, if it matters as much to you as it does to him, then sooner or later he'll turn it round.
Macclesfield Town followed Wycombe into the Football League, emulated their debut season promotion, and it looked to disadvantage Wycombe when another serious injury cost Smiley's striker Mark Stallard. Then, in the 13th minute of the 13th game, Stallard's replacement, Andy Baird, bravely forced in his first ever league goal. From then on, Macclesfield were left in the slipstream of Smiley's people. When Michael Simpson curled in a free kick, Wycombe had scored 2 for the first time in a league game this season. You could feel the relief. Suddenly, commitment and confidence surged through everyone. Keith Scott, a veteran of the good old days under O'Neill, guided in a third goal to ice the cake. For the first time as their permanent manager, Neil Smiley was a winner. And whether it's just a brief respite or the start of a genuine renaissance, the last of the 72 managers nationwide could now face the Sunday press and savour his roast dinner.
Yeah, we can read the papers in the knowledge that, you know, we've got 3 points this week, and perhaps the kids will have my company this Sunday.
Simpson whips this one in. Scott's at the far post. It's there! A fantastic delivery by Keith Scott's head. Probably the opportunity to allow 1 or 2 extra supporters in. Now Brown, can he make it 2? He can! And he goes to the visiting supporters. And as I've said before, the silence is deafening from that end. And he stole the ball off Dave Rydler. Oh, and Reed's got away from his man. Tries to put Scott through on, and he might get there at the second chance. Now, what can he do? Can he finish? Oh, yes, he can! Oh, that was tremendous. And they all rise to him. And that's goal number 3.
Oldham and Wycombe have the worst scoring records in the table, so no real surprise that John McGinley's first match for Athletic was goalless. Fellow debutant John Sheridan's effort was the closest of the match, but not quite close enough.
It needed 3 pitch inspections before this first ever league meeting between these clubs was given the go-ahead by the inconsistent match official Clive Wilkes. Grant Bredner scored twice in the opening 9 minutes. Both goals created by the former Spurs player Darren Caskey, although that free kick was hotly disputed. The second, again from a Caskey set piece, the ball eventually finding its way through to the Scottish under-21 striker, Wycombe further behind. The division's bottom club could have buckled, but to their credit they responded positively. Visiting keeper Scott Howie allowing Matthew Lawrence's header to slip between his legs. Tommy Byrne's Reading team have recovered well after a dreadful start to the campaign, which left the manager's job on the line. They've certainly found their form of late. Martin Williams' headed goal 19 minutes from the end appeared enough for victory. A minute later, though, there was only 1 goal to separate these 2 rivals. Jason Cousins brought it back to 3-2, and for Reading, it was now about preserving the slenderest of leads. They managed to hold on, but in a frantic final few minutes as tempers flared, Wycombe's Nicky Mohan was red-carded for that reckless challenge, and this match ended on a sour note.
At the beginning of November, Wycombe had recorded wins over Macclesfield and Wrexham and drawn at Oldham. These results have pulled Wycombe back into a challenging position after 16 games. Although still bottom, they were just 1 win away from overhauling Macclesfield in 21st place.
Wycombe recovered from a dreadful start to earn a valuable away points. The game had barely begun when visiting keeper Martin Taylor gave away the penalty. David Seal the victim, and Carlo Corazon stepped up to put Northampton in a winning position. A few weeks ago, the Basement Club might have folded. Not now. Nicky Mohan, sent off a week ago, made the headlines this time for all the right reasons.
Brown again. He gets 3 City players colliding with him there. Ball down to brother-in-law Scott. Oh, it might get Baird through here. Andy Baird, and he gets tripped up. Must be a penalty, and it is. And stepping up, it's Michael Simpson to take this penalty. We've had about 36 minutes of the game, and he scores! Michael Simpson from the spot.
Wycombe Chesterfield was another second division contest where cup form went against league standing. Keith Scott's goal settled the issue at Adams Park. 1-0 to Wycombe.
Wycombe were handed the chance of a first away win by Carl Bradshaw's challenge on Andrew Baird. He said he took the ball. Referee Mark Warren said he took the man. Whatever, Michael Simpson failed to capitalise, and the division had its third no-score draw of the day.
Stoke maintain their winning form and enjoy a healthy lead at the top, but they were pushed all the way by a resurgent Wycombe side who'd only lost one of their last 8. City looked destined for just a point until Graham Kavanagh beat the cameraman and keeper Martin Taylor 11 minutes from time.
At last, Wycombe climb off the bottom. With 20 games played, they have 15 points.
It should have been 2 up inside 15 minutes. As it was, it took them half an hour to make the breakthrough. Dave Carroll creating the unmissable opportunity for Andy Baird. Plymouth forced a draw after a defensive mix-up. Earl Jean's low centre should have been cut out. The unfortunate Paul McCarthy diverted the ball past keeper Martin Taylor and into his own net. They replay on December the 15th.
It's the first round of the Auto Windscreen Shield and Wycombe Wanderers visit Shrewsbury. The game 0-0 after 90 minutes. A long kick from Martin Taylor is headed on by Keith Scott, latched onto by Jermaine McSporran, and that's the Wanderers' golden goal moment.
Wycombe boss Neil Smiley declared himself content with this rare away point. Blackpool can't win at Bloomfield Road, and they can't score either. Martin Taylor in the visitors' goal, rarely troubled, and when he was, he coped admirably.
A trip to Plymouth for an FA Cup replay with Premiership Derby on the end of it for the third round. But it got off to a very poor start when Plymouth scored from the spot. Martin Taylor not able to cope with the power of the kick. It wasn't too long before Wycombe was struggling once again when the ball in from the right-hand side was fumbled by keeper Taylor. It's loose, it's returned to the middle, and all of a sudden, Wanderers are 2 goals down. The situation looks completely hopeless, but during that break, a ball from the left-hand side onto the head of substitute Paul Reed, and Wycombe have certainly rekindled their hopes down at home park. But a goal kick from Martin Taylor, long into the air, headed back in. Plymouth pick it up. A long ball through the centre. Returned to keeper Taylor by Paul McCarthy. His kick is a really bad one, and a very well taken chance restores Plymouth's 2-goal margin. David Carroll manages to get another one back for Wycombe from the penalty spot to make it 3-2.
It's been a long time coming, but it all came right for Wycombe, albeit against the division's bottom club. Visiting keeper Bruce Grobbelaar couldn't deal with the power and accuracy of Steve Brown's goal-bound effort. Lincoln had won on their only 2 previous visits to Adams Park, but there was to be no repeat. Dave Carroll makes to cash in as Wycombe extended their lead, and it was a former Lincoln player, Keith Scott, who provided the assist. 2 up at the break, but the basement boys staged a spirited second-half revival, and on the hour mark, Gavin Gordon showed unerring accuracy in front of goal, and this contest was alive again. Jermaine McSporran was the difference on the day. Manager Neil Smiley picked him up from Oxford City for £75,000 after Arsenal had rejected him, and the player is determined not to waste his chance. McSporran went on to complete the scoring. Grobbelaar left without any defensive cover, and while Lincoln had cast adrift at the foot of the table, Wycombe edged further away from the relegation zone.
That 4-1 home win against Lincoln City sent the Imps to the bottom of the table and put Wycombe 2 places above them on 19 points from 22 games. On Boxing Day, Wycombe travelled to high-flying Walsall, and what a cracking match it was. And it wasn't too long before the home side was stringing some excellent football together, which finished with Andy Rammell giving Walsall the lead. An excellent finish by Rammell, who was to play a big part in Walsall's promotion leap during the season. But Wycombe nonetheless came back very strongly, especially when McSporran nipped in to take the ball away from the defence and equalise for the Blues. It looked as if Wycombe may have thrown the opportunity away when Jason Cousins fouled Rammell in the box. A penalty, the referee says, and really Michael Simpson, arguing there, receives the yellow card for his forceful issue. But the spot kick's missed and Wycombe still live on. So very quickly taken free kick. Carroll swings the ball into the box. It's cleverly dummied by Scott, and in steps Steve Brown to give the Blues the 2-1 lead. It looked at that stage as if Wycombe were going to hang on and take all 3 points for their first away win of the season. But a free kick touched on by Taylor hit Rammell and rolls into the net and rescues a point for Walsall.
Chesterfield's latest defeat on their travels came at Adams Park, and they're yet to win away in the league. Keith Scott condemned them to this latest loss. Scott, of course, was the player who ended their FA Cup hopes last month. 2 dismissals rather marred the spectacle. First to go, Chesterfield's Jamie Hewitt for that challenge, followed soon after by Wycombe's Michael Simpson, who decided to manhandle his opponent.
A clutch of Premiership scouts were at Adams Park, apparently with their eyes on York striker Richard Creswell. If this performance earns him a big money move, Wycombe defender Paul McCarthy should ask for a cut. Goodness knows what he had in mind when Creswell nipped him for the first. Wycombe had experienced a marked improvement in form recently, only 2 defeats in a dozen games, so no one would have been too surprised when they fought back. Keith Ryan's fearless diving header made it 1-1. But York just about deserved all 3 points and captured them 14 minutes from the end. Barry Jones muscling his way into space, York's 3rd win in 4 matches.
The home defeat by York City was possibly the turning point for manager Neil Smiley. A good run of results up until that match meant that Smiley really needed to win the game against York City to take Wycombe well clear of the relegation places. Sadly, we weren't able to do that.
Had some practice in that in the last couple of games with Creswell from York and Steve Lennar from Chesterfield, and both times I think Ryan's done quite nicely, and it's Fortune West on the end of that one. Just as I was saying, he was the big target man and got in ahead there of the Wycombe defence on the end of that free kick, and he's put the ball into Westhead's net to give Brentford the lead. It's 1-0. Ryderson sends the ball forward, but Kavanagh could clear that one. But Keith Ryan didn't realise he'd got Andy Scott behind him. Scott's through, and Scott's knocked the ball into the net for Brentford. So Hill looking just to be fair and square in the second half as Aspinall sends this ball in. And the Wycombe, Brentford have got 2 men in on the end of it, and Quinn it is who heads the ball in. And Rowland's able to knock the ball forward. Westhead stays on his line. Scott's through on goal here, and he's found again. And Simpson again out on the touchline will want to send the ball in. He does so. Ball's across, and there's a goal for Keith Ryan again. Oh, Wycombe's centre half showing the front men how to do it.
Defeat at Luton was the final straw for Wycombe's directors. Manager Neil Smiley departed on Monday morning. Former player Terry Evans takes charge as the caretaker. Matthew Spring's well-struck free kick, the first nail in the coffin. Wycombe's poor disciplinary record was one factor cited against Smiley. 2 players sent off brought their red card tally to 6 this season. Paul McCarthy first to go for his flare-up with Phil Gray. The Luton man also got his marching orders. Wycombe's Keith Ryan joined the dismissal list later. Ref Matt Mathias likes his red cards. He's shown them 14 times in the past 19 games. After all the early baths, Luton not surprisingly took control of the match. Dave Carroll has more reason than most to erase this day to forget from his memory. His misplaced pass teeing up Sean Evers. The home side's third was one they could be more proud of. A fantastic through ball found Stuart Douglas scampering down the centre, and he struck his shot first time. Only a minute remained when Wycombe's 9 men got their goal. Keith Scott had his arm held in the box and decided a tumble would be his best bet. Carroll stepped up to the spot to at least salvage some personal pride.
The team, now third from bottom, await the appointment of a new manager.
Having sacked manager Neil Smiley, Wycombe were hoping for a quick fix against Millwall, but temporary incumbent Terry Evans had no more fortune than his predecessor. Neil Harris got away to set up the winner for Tim Cahill and leave Evans with much on his mind and in no doubt about his own position.
This job needs, I think, someone with a lot of experience to come in, to steady it up. It's a tough job. I mean, it's been made public that there's not a lot of money available, and it's going to have to be someone who can do a bit of ducking and diving, getting players in and out. And I'm not experienced enough to do it yet.
Without 8 regular first-teamers, Wycombe were no match for a strong Chesterfield side who surged ahead through Jonathan Howard's toe end. Despite a monopoly of possession, John Duncan's side scored only once more though. Ian Breckin's drive deflected past the defiant Taylor by Steve Wilkinson. Howard and Wilkinson, nowhere ever heard those names before.
Another defeat takes Wycombe to second from bottom under caretaker boss Terry Evans.
Lawrie Sanchez is the new man in charge at Wycombe Wanderers and knows he needs more than faith healers to get them out of trouble.
If I keep them up this year, I mean, it won't just be me, it'll be the players, it'll be people that work with me, and they'll deserve credit. But I will obviously milk that as much as possible, and people will say, what a great manager you are. That's the way football works.
Wycombe's reserves were thrashed 9-0 by Fulham in midweek, but there was to be no repeat of that scoreline once the Cottagers keeper Mike Taylor spilled Jason Kavanagh's cross, and 19-year-old Andrew Baird was tuned in to take advantage. The defeat was the last thing Kevin Keegan wanted prior to next week's trip to Old Trafford, so he was grateful when Kit Simons measured a header to beat Wycombe's own goalkeeping Taylor.
Well, it couldn't have been a better time to come in, really. You came here on the Friday, and then the very next day we were playing Fulham here.
Yeah, a nice easy one to start with, and then Preston the week after, so that was the teams 1 and 2 in the table. I thought we did very well in the Fulham game. I mean, we came here and everybody expected us to get beaten. And we got a credible draw. I mean, I remember Kevin Keegan coming up to me afterwards and saying, you know, well done, that's a good start for you, which I thought was quite magnanimous. Luckily, they were caught between the Villa game in the Cup and the Man United game they're playing next, so their minds were perhaps on other things. But I thought we did well that day. The lads showed a lot of enthusiasm. Came back from a goal down against what is the best side in this division, or was the best side in this division.
Lawrie Sanchez arrived at Adams Park after a spell as manager of Irish League side Sligo Rovers, where he achieved entry into Europe in the Cup Winners' Cup. He returned to Wimbledon as first-team coach and reserve-team manager, winning the Football League Combination Championship.
When I first came back from Ireland to Wimbledon, Sam obviously took me out on the road for the first couple of games. The first game he actually took me to was here, and he brought me into the director's room, the boardroom, and introduced me to the chairman and everything. And I'd been here before and I'd been here since, but I just felt it was a very welcoming club. I mean, it's local for me. I mean, I live down the road in Reading, so it's the second nearest club after Reading. But when I came into the club, and at the times afterwards I've come into it, it just felt a homely place to come to, and I felt really relaxed and comfortable here. And it was always a club that I thought, if I'm going to start in management at a lower level, which was where I was going to start, that it was a club that I thought would suit me. It looked well run off the field. It's a lovely stadium, and you know, you felt if they got things right on the field, then the fans would follow.
Of course, you had the advantage too of playing during your career, starting in the lower levels and knowing what the non-league game was about before playing at Reading and then moving into the top level.
Yeah, I started at Thatcham, was my first club, and I played there for a season under Roy Bentley. I then moved to Reading. Maurice Evans took me to Reading. In fact, Roy Bentley travelled over as secretary as well, so he had something to do with that. And I spent 7 years at Reading in the 4th and 3rd divisions before stepping up with Wimbledon into the old 2nd division. 1.5 seasons there, then straight into the 1st division stroke Premier League, and I've spent the last 10 years of my career there, and about 10 weeks with Swindon in their last campaign there. So I mean, I've played and I've managed and I've looked at and scouted this whole from the top to the bottom. So coming back to what is the old 3rd division was where I started really. I'd seen the team play 6 times. I'd seen the Villa pre-season game, and I'd seen 4 or 5 games in the league. So I'd seen them play 6 times this season, and I thought they weren't a bad side, as I've well documented. I left here twice and you were leading 1-0, and got up the top of the hill, and it was 1-1. And you know, so the teams had scored in the last minutes of games, and I think that was happening an awful lot here. And the difference between success and failure is the width of a post at times, you know, But I thought the team were good. I couldn't understand why they were where they were. The fact they hadn't won in the first 12 games surprised me. So when I took the job and I applied for the job, I thought, you know, they ain't a bad side. You know, they can be a decent side. And hopefully, over the course of the last 11 games, I mean, we proved what a good side we were.
With Fulham in the FA Cup, Preston had the chance to go top of Division 2. They took it at home to Wycombe. Steve Basham's first goal for Preston after joining on a month's loan from Southampton. Basham's first came from open play on 9 minutes. The second goal of the match came from the penalty spot, and Wycombe were back in the game. Striker Andy Baird was brought down by Preston defender Ryan Kidd. John Cornforth made the penalty count. Somehow, Kidd escaped further punishment for the foul. In fact, referee David Laws didn't show Kidd a card of either colour. And that made Wycombe manager Lawrie Sanchez see red in every sense. Sanchez was furious. He was brought to book by referee Laws and escorted from the bench by officers of the law. Another test of the laws of the game for Mr. Laws came when Preston's Sean Gregan was pulled up for a foul against Baird. Gregan had already been booked. Everybody in the ground was expecting a red card, but again, Mr. Laws was lenient. Again, Wycombe took the law into their own hands. Michael Simpson protested a little too much. His name did go into the notebook. Preston proceeded to win the match and go joint top with Fulham. Goals scored gives Preston the edge. Basham's second of the game, 2-1. Not much is going for Wycombe at the moment. Paul Emblem missed an equalising chance towards the end. They're joint bottom of the table. Again, goals scored just keeps them in front of Macclesfield.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the referee was disgraceful in that game. I think everybody that was up there was. I mean, they got away with murder. They talk about homers, but he was weak. And but for his refereeing, we'd have got something more than we did there. It's well documented. I got sent off after an altercation with him, and I've still got to go before the FA with regard to that. But it taught me that perhaps you don't win anything by fighting wars with referees. I mean, and I've spoken to several people since, and referees do have it in for certain managers that give them a hard time. I think it's a fact of life. You know, if someone's always on your back and you know they're going to be on your back every time you go to manage there or go to a referee there, that they aren't going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So I've changed my style a little bit with regard to referees. I still have a rant and rave, but I make sure I say before the game, you know, have a good game, and I make sure I shake their hands afterwards. What goes on in between, as long as they're incompetent on both sides, then that's all you can ask for, you know.
The arrival of Lawrie Sanchez at Adams Park has had the desired effects. He's instilled some self-belief. This was Wycombe's first win since December. Burnley were really up against it from the moment Lenny John Rose was red-carded for an appalling two-footed challenge on Jason Kavanagh. John Rose cost nearly £250,000 from Bury, but on Saturday he cost his teammates dear. Referee Brian Corrington took the only appropriate action. Burnley were undone by 2 second-half goals in a minute. The ball set up nicely for Michael Simpson to hammer Wycombe in front. Burnley finished the game with 9 men after Ali Pickering sending off. It followed Keith Scott's classic back post header. A side who not long ago looked favourites for the drop are now capable of staying up, and confidence is the key word.
Well, then we returned the following week to Burnley here, which was a good performance and your first win.
Yeah, we came back. You know, we'd had a draw and a defeat, and now I needed to get a win under a belt. And Burnley were fighting for their lives, and I think it was in the middle of their sort of bad patch, really. And we came here and we got a good win. I think they got down to 9 men at the end of the day, didn't they? But it was important for us that we did win that game, and it started us. You know, that was my first victory, and it's very important for a manager to get the first victory under his belt.
I know then we go down to AFC Bournemouth, and it's a ground where we've never really got great memories of, whoever the manager's been here, and I think probably the first half was enough to see us out of that match.
Yeah, for me that was the most disappointing game. I mean, I've said it again before, the most disappointing half was the first half in my time here. Second half we came out and we had a go, to be fair, and we had a few chances, but as one or two of the players said afterwards, it's easy to start playing when you're 2-0 down. You've got to start playing when it's 0-0. And it also is a turning point in the fact that I think 3 players left the club within the week of that game. Nicky Mohan, Jason Kavanagh and Stallard all went to different pastures and who started that game. So it was a turning point in many ways. I mean, I spoke to the chairman on the way back and I said, you know, the honeymoon period is over now. I'd lifted them for 3 games, but now we need to start culling and making preparations for next season and getting the team together that I wanted. So it was a turning point game in my management here.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious to you at the time that maybe those players that were released weren't going to be right for the club in what you wanted to do, and that their mind probably wasn't right in going down the route that we needed to go down to get survival.
Well, Moen and Kavanagh were the first two people in to see me within a day of being in the job, saying they both wanted away. And Stallard, he was being approached, I think, by other clubs in the division, and he wanted his future decided. And the terms that were being offered to him at other clubs was what I wasn't going to pay them here. So we decided to cut our losses. Two of them went on a free transfer, and Stallard went for a nominal fee, really, for his value. But it cleared the decks a little bit and allowed other people to come through and show what they could offer to us.
Referee Fraser Stretton's controversial handling of this game was the main talking point afterwards. He played almost 10 minutes of stoppage time and it cost Wycombe dear. Jason Dezelle had given Colchester the lead. Mick Wadsworth's arrival at the club has proved significant. They haven't lost during his time in charge, although that record was in doubt as Wycombe came strongly back into the match and scored a deserved equaliser through Andy Baird. Since Lawrie Sanchez took over at Adams Park in February, they've threatened to break out of the bottom four without success. So Keith Scott's close-range finish was a massive boost to a side threatened by relegation. Wycombe thought they were home and dry, but in a cruel twist, they were punished late on. Martin Taylor in the home goal was adjudged to have brought down Neil Gregory. Brother David converted the spot kick just as he had when the two sides met back in September.
I mean, we played quite well against Colchester, and you know, we were leading with 8 minutes, and then he puts up the thing with eight minutes left, and you're still leading with 8 minutes gone, and then we have a corner down in the corner, and they go right from the other end of it to score from, well, to concede a penalty and then score from the penalty. So they scored 10 minutes into injury time. To lose 2 points there was very, very disappointing. And then the following week we compounded that by getting Brownie sent off, getting back into the game 1-1, I think it was, and then again another stupid mistake with 6 minutes to go when we were battering them. Cost us not so much the point, but gave Northampton 3 points, who were one of our arch rivals. So those two games were perhaps the lowest points for me, in the fact that they were home games and we should have got more points than we did. We got 1 out of the 6, you know, when we could have quite easily got the 4, you know, possibly the 6 if we'd have kept our cool a little bit longer.
It's a fairly bleak lookout, though, for Wycombe manager Lawrie Sanchez. His frustration was clear after a 2-1 defeat in the basement battle at home to Northampton. Sean Parrish played to the whistle for Northampton's first. Offside appeals went unhurt. Carlo Corazon missed the chance to make it 2-0 from the penalty spot. Then Wycombe had former Northampton midfielder Steve Brown sent off. Despite that, Wanderers did level the scores. Andy Baird 1-1 with just over 20 minutes to go. Another gifted goal, though, let Northampton take the points. Corazon's goal was his 12th of the season. The visitors had defender John Frayne sent off in the final minutes, but Wycombe's 9th home defeat leaves them at the bottom.
If Wycombe manager Lawrie Sanchez hoped for any favours from one of his old clubs, he was disappointed. Jason Cousins' mistake allowed Jim McIntyre to set Reading on the way to their 4th consecutive win. 6 minutes before the break, the bottom club were thrown a lifeline. Andy Baird seemed sure to score until Andy Burnell's intervention, a tackle that Reading's tenants Richmond Rugby Club would have been happy with. Burnell sent off, much to the disbelief of keeper Scott Howie. He found the referee's decision far more upsetting than the penalty. Dave Carroll's effort woefully high and wide. The 10 men battened down the hatches, putting an extra defender on in place of a striker, but still managed one more fruitful foray forward, 17 minutes from the end. Stuart Gray's overlap and an unstoppable header from Darren Caskey. Wycombe did end the day with the distinction of being the first side to score against Reading in almost a month. Sean Devine's goal was a cracker, but with their second division future now seriously in peril, no consolation for Wycombe.
We then go on to Reading and the new Medeski Stadium, and a big game, 2 local clubs. A game we played so well in. I mean, we played for the first time probably with the kind of organisation you were looking for and a good tempo, but made 2 stupid mistakes at the back.
Yeah, I thought up to then that was our best performance. I thought we'd played really well in that game. First half we dominated, I thought. Then we've given them a goal. Then we got back into it with a penalty, and then we've missed the penalty, and then they went down to 10 men, and I thought, well, we can still get something here, and then another stupid mistake, and they get a second one before Sean Devine came on and scored his opening goal for us, and we had 15 minutes where we had a go at them but couldn't get the equaliser. Again, another important game in the fact that Sean came into the equation. He got off, anybody that saw the celebrations after he scored the goal showed how much it meant to him. It was like a release for him, really. And from then onwards, to be fair, the personnel or the actual positions people played changed. I mean, that was Keith Ryan's last game at centre half. He then came into midfield and played midfield from then onwards. And as I say, I was very impressed with the performance. And I said to them, I remember saying to the players in the dressing room afterwards, if we can cut the mistakes out of our game, we'd be a decent side. Again, it marked a point when we got 5 points adrift from Macclesfield of that game, and then 8 points from the line. And a lot of people, I know a lot of the fans who were there, thought, well, that's it, they're down now. Let's start planning for next year. I must admit, I didn't quite think that. I thought, yeah, it's pretty dire, and we perhaps need to get a win under our belt. But Sean Devine came in, so Rhino changed, and also I think it was Keith Scott's last game for the club. A deal being done after the game that generated £250,000 that allowed us to bring Sean Devine in on a permanent basis. So another turning point game, if you want to put it that way. There was a lot of things going on during and after the game that affected how the rest of the season went on.
Yeah, and I think probably moving on from there, without a doubt, the game on the Tuesday night at Bristol was a massive turning point. The club hadn't won away from home at that stage. Keith Ryan had been moved into the middle. Scotty wasn't even going to play that night because he was on his way. And it was a question of Devine and Baird up front for the first time together. And the back had been reorganised. And it was just, we absolutely swept them away.
Yeah, it was a game that we won in adversity, really. And to be fair, we've done well in adversity. I mean, on the way down, I was sweating over, do I play Scotty last game? He's going to Reading. We got £250,000 in the bank, which the club needed to balance the books here. And I thought long and hard about it. And at the end of the day, I thought, well, if he was to get injured, if he was to get a knock, it wouldn't benefit us, it wouldn't benefit him, and it certainly wouldn't benefit the club. So I took the decision that he had to be left out of it, and I informed him coming off the coach that there was good news and bad news, Scotty. The bad news was he wasn't playing, but the good news was he was going to Reading. Which, it was good for him at his stage of his career. 32 years old, he had one final move, Reading are bigger players than us, and he would have got a decent deal there. So having made that decision, Sean then came in and played alongside Bairdy. Kaz scores for us after 5 minutes, then gets injured and has to come off injured and doesn't play again for the rest of the season. He looked an innocuous challenge at the time, but as I say, it was obviously more serious than we thought at the time. But he scored with that his last touch of the season that puts us in the lead. And then Sean nicked another goal and gave us a 2-0 win. And as I say, it was our first away win. And those fans, I remember they stood behind us in the dugout and they were ecstatic. And those fans that had travelled, for over a year or something without an away win, I've got to give them major credit. They were there when we did win. And I spoke to one or two people after and said, oh, it was the one game I missed after the Reading game. I thought that was it. I said, well, you've got to keep believing. So that was good for them, and they'll take it. They can say I was there when we did it.
Wycombe moved off the bottom with their second victory of the week, and the results have given manager Lawrie Sanchez renewed hope in the battle of the basement. Dave Carroll ensured an excellent week ended on a high with the first goal. All three came in the first half, and Carroll was on target soon after. Oldham looked a demoralised outfit destined for the drop. Wycombe, a team capable of scoring at will. Defender Paul McCarthy guaranteed maximum points with Wycombe's third. Could Sanchez prove a miracle worker after all?
The relegation battle at Moss Rose looked to be heading Macclesfield's way when Steve Payne nodded in past Wycombe's Martin Taylor. But it was downhill from then on for Sammy McIlroy's side. The vast majority of my players simply threw the towel in, he said. Wycombe's Matt Lawrence helping the tide to turn with that long-range strike. Seconds before the interval, Sean Devine flicked his header just beneath the Macclesfield bar, and McIlroy feared the worst. He said they hadn't got a prayer of avoiding a swift return to Division 3 after seeing Wycombe clinch their second successive away win, with Devine again finding the target.
It was a whole demolition this period of Bristol Rovers, Oldham, Macclesfield, Wrexham. It was just a fantastic role.
Yeah, we went on the road, didn't we? As I say, Macclesfield it was an important game. and we went a goal down, but I thought we got strong enough now, and we came back and beat them 3-1 in a great day, to be fair. It was a lovely day as I remember it, and it was a great performance.
Gillingham put an end to Wycombe's mini-revival. Wanderers had won 3 on the trot, but defender Barry Ashby broke their resistance on 68 minutes, his first for the Kent club. Home manager Lawrie Sanchez complained the visitors were more fresh after being spared a Saturday match. Perhaps tired legs explain the appalling defensive lapse that let Carla Saba make sure of all 3 points.
They'd played on the Thursday, hadn't they, and they'd had about a 4-day rest, and probably it was the game where we had to play Saturday, Monday, and probably the first time where it became evident that without a big man up front it was going to be difficult breaking down big defenders.
Yeah, I mean, they pulled off a stroke, which you've got to give credit to Tony Pulis. I mean, he got his game organised for the Thursday against Reading, which gave him the extra couple of days to recover, and I think that was a turning point. For an hour we were as good as them. In the last half hour we ran out of steam and lost 1-0. And it did, as you say, the fact that we didn't have a big man in our armoury was perhaps shown out that day, because they had 3 big centre-halves strung across the field. We couldn't get the ball up to Betty and Sean. They were tiring. We couldn't throw it in the air because they were batting in the air. Gillingham were good on the day, but say for an hour we lived with them. But for the fact that we played on the previous Saturday and had the long journey back from Macclesfield, I would fancy ourselves against them now. But it wasn't to be. We lost 1-0. And again, after the great victories away from home, we failed to capitalise on it at home, really.
Wycombe are another side putting up a real fight at the bottom end. Wanderers deserved the 3 points they took from their trip to Wrexham. Sean Devine's shot was blocked by homekeeper Tommy Wright, but Dave Carroll put away the rebound, 1-0 on 70 minutes. 2 minutes from the end, they made sure. Jermaine McSporran had started on the bench. He finished with some confidence, 2-0 to Wycombe, just out of the drop zone on goals scored.
And I thought that was a totally professional performance from beginning to end, to be honest. I thought we were excellent at the back, excellent in midfield, and we scored 2 goals up front. And as you say, did a double as well, wasn't it? With Macclesfield as Wrexham, that was another double. And as you say, never won there. But then we go in to see the results afterwards, and we had to win because every other team won as well, didn't they? I think 6 out of the bottom 9 won that day.
I'll never forget the look on your face when we went into that little room where the television was. All the press were in there, and you just, as the results came up, you couldn't believe it. You know, like, all these teams kept winning.
I think 6 out of the bottom 9 teams won that day. Who did Macclesfield? Macclesfield beat someone, didn't they? I can't remember who they beat. They beat one of the top teams, Preston or something.
Preston, I think they beat Preston.
Beat Preston at home.
3-1 at home.
You know, after we'd beat them the week before, and you thought, well, that's them gone. They then go and beat Preston. And Lincoln. It was lucky we did win that game, because if we hadn't, we'd have been in. You know, I thought, and we actually moved out of the bottom 4, if I remember correctly as well. When we moved out to the following Tuesday when they all played and all went above. We went back under the line. So nice to get out of the bottom 4 for whatever time it was. It showed the lads what they could do. We got a good run going on the away from home, and then we go into the Stoke game, don't we?
Yeah, I remember that you saying to you afterwards. I thought we did so well to come back, but I remember you saying at the time you thought what a disappointment it was we didn't win that game.
Well, I thought first half we were the better team, and they had one. We went in the lead, and they had a few other chances, and they had one chance and scored, didn't they, against the run of play. Second half, they've got another one, and they battered us a little bit. And then Sean pops up again, you know, to get the second of his brace in the last minute, and you think, well, you know, perhaps a point is point's definitely better than a defeat, but could we have had the 3? But you've got to accumulate points on the road. I mean, that point, you know, and people said later on the point of Blackpool, well, it was only a point, but we only stayed up by a point. People have got to remember that. So it was important. And I say Sean was on fire at the time. I mean, you know, 2 in that game. And of course we signed him that following day as well, which was important. So it was another crucial game, crucial time for the club. We were a bit worried that they would perhaps come and ask for more money, because there'd been a long protracted transfer that. But the deal had been done, and as I say, he joined the club the following day, which was great.
Owing to Wigan's involvement in the Auto Windscreen Shield final, Wycombe didn't play the week before going to Manchester City. And the results looked like this: Reading 0, Northampton 1, York 2, Stoke 2, Luton 0, Lincoln 1, Wrexham 1, Oldham 2. Certainly the biggest game of the season, could even be the biggest game since Wycombe Wanderers have joined the Football League as a league side. Away at Manchester City, the stronghold Main Road, where City, all they need to do is beat lowly Wycombe, and it would guarantee them an automatic promotion place. The Wycombe Wanderers have different things in mind. They started quite brightly, they really had tremendous determination, and the front two in Sean Devine and Andrew Baird determined to chase everything down. And it wasn't too long before that was made very evident to the Manchester City defence. However, City, renowned for their slick football, really kept at it. And although they saw that Wycombe had started very well, felt very much that it wouldn't be too long before they could overhaul the visitors and take the lead. But the stout defending at the back in the Reds, at times one can describe it as organised chaos, was enough. And with Martin Taylor in splendid form in goal, really putting glue on his fingers for that particular game, absolutely brilliant. A marvellous save coming in there early on gave the side a lot of confidence. The ball being passed around in the middle of the pitch, it was won firmly by Keith Ryan, spread out on the right hand side to Jermaine McSporran, who'd been included for his sheer pace, and suddenly it worked. Brown, a flick for Devine, and Devine over the top, and that's the first chance gone in the game for the Blues. It wasn't long before Wycombe were back in with a free kick, lobbed in. The ball's loose, headed away by the Manchester City defence, who are now under some pressure, with McSporran tidying up very nicely. Very good skill by him. Brown picks it up, squeezes a lovely ball in. A great flick from Sean Devine. Andrew Baird, a wonderful finish to give Wycombe Wanderers a 1-0 lead. Really terrific football by Wycombe, and that lead thoroughly deserved. City, determined to get back in the game as quickly as possible, spread the play. Two wingers in the side, really looking to search out the Wycombe defence. It's loose. And a very good shot on the turn from Paul Dickov, once again brilliantly saved by Martin Taylor in the Wycombe goal. Again, Wycombe clear their lines, determined to keep City at bay. A goal to the good and everything to play for, with Devine really hassling and charging down everything that's loose around the penalty area. But a mistake, and Man City rule that with a terrific challenge from Andy Baird. It's loose, and Simpson just fires narrowly over the top from some 25 yards away. The City come back again, determined to keep throwing this ball into the Wycombe penalty area. Again, their wide positions paying off for them. The ball flicked on once more, and it comes to Cook, the 1.2 million signing from Manchester United, and his shot goes high wide over the top behind the goal. City look to set themselves going once more. Forsyth it is, with his power header forward. Flicked on by Andy Baird into the path of Devine, and suddenly it's 2-0 for Wycombe Wanderers. A tremendous goal from Devine this time, proving the front two really are worth their weight in gold. As substitute Alan Beaton rushes on with water to cool the red-hot feet, and the team gather to celebrate another tremendous goal by Sean Devine, giving Wanderers a 2-0 lead. Can they hang on to half-time? That's the most important lead they have here. 2-0, and in the locker room would be absolutely terrific. City, no doubt, will have other ideas, spurred on by Dickov and Gota. And it's Dickov again with a tremendous shot just wide of that post. From a corner kick, the ball's loose. It's knocked against the arm of Michael Simpson, and the referee awards a free kick to Manchester City. Again, it's Taylor. The ball whizzing around like a pinball, suddenly pounces on it and rescues Wanderers once more as the minutes tick away to the half-time break. Gota and Brown collide. Gota holds Brown down as the ball is put wide on the right-hand side. As the ball's crossed in, you'll see that it's Gota who's up first and fires City back into it, reducing the arrears to 2-1 right on the half-time break. City, spurred on by the words of Joe Royle at half-time, start brightly with a free kick. Into the box, a firm header just scrapes across the Wycombe bar, and Wycombe still lead 2-1. It's going to be a very, very difficult 45 minutes for the Blues, knowing full well they're going to be really under pressure from the home side. Again, some dalliance in the Wycombe defence really causes problems all of their own, allowing Dickoff to jump in and get the ball into the Wycombe box. Gota's there, a good opportunity, but he spoons it wide of the goal, and yet again Wycombe see what could have been another chance for City and a very good let-off resulting for the team in red. Who would have believed right at the start of the season that you could have got money against Wycombe completing the double over Manchester City, and yet it did happen, unbelievably. Here, some super football by City looks certain to bring the equalising goal, but once more it's Martin Taylor, and this time his feet that really saved the day for Wycombe. Another formidable build-up by City. Again, Wycombe really have to be on their mettle to protect this effort. As one can only say, how did they miss this one? It looked easier to score, but the ball goes agonisingly wide, and that's to be the last chance Manchester City will get in trying to rescue this game against Wycombe Wanderers. What a result for the Blues. An unbelievable finish. 2-1 they win. And really, that does turn their season around and gives them every chance of survival now for 1999-2000. I said to you at the time after the game, I felt that could have been the result that will keep us up. It was an amazing performance.
Yeah, we went. We were in a run of how many games away from home was it at the time? About
it was our fifth one away.
Fifth one away. And we had Notts County to come as well. So we're in a run of 6 games away on the spin, which could have sunk us if we hadn't got anything from them. I thought at the time if we'd gone into the 2 games and come out with 2 points, it would allow us to perhaps win the last 3 games of the season and avoid relegation. So, as I say, we went into the Man City game, and for the first half hour, I think probably the best performance we've put on anywhere under my management. And we destroyed them. Baird and Devine destroyed them up front, and each helped each other to a goal. And we could have had more. There was 1 or 2 saves, and we could have had more. And then the nerves set in, and then the players suddenly realised, oh, we're at Main Road and we're leading 2-0, and we sat back and defended, and for a quarter of an hour they mullered us. They absolutely mullered us and should have had a goal. At the end of the day, they got one in the last minute of that half. Of course, everybody then thought they'd come out and do the same second half. But the second half, for me, although they had pressure, I mean, we had chances, we had half chances, and I thought it was a more even-Steven game. And to finally come out with a 2-1 win, that destroyed their automatic promotion hopes, and our fans were delirious, weren't they? And as I say, to get the 3 points, I thought, well, that'll do us, because it will mean that we can have a hiccup on the way in, and you say we needed it. And it also, other clubs looked at it and would have thought, cool, they're not a bad side, you know, that they are going well. It'll be someone else apart from Wycombe going down, so let's have a look around and see who else it is.
Yeah, I think without a doubt that result would have sent shudders through the second division, because they needed just to beat us for an automatic promotion place.
Yeah, I remember going in, seeing Joe afterwards, and they were gutted. I mean, they thought they should have won the game. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it wrecked and remember, it's also on the previous Wednesday we'd wrecked Stoke's chances of automatic playoff position as well by taking the point away from there. So we became a sort of party poopers at that time, which was good. It's good to get into that trait. And the 3 points, as you say, were 3 that were completely unexpected by most people. But it was a great day and a great 3 points, and you say probably was one of the turning points that kept us up, really, because we could afford to drop points elsewhere.
Yeah, I must just ask you, while we're talking about Manchester City, what did you say to the players at half-time? Because when we're up on the press gantry, the moment Gota had scored, I think we all felt, certainly their press people said, well, that's it, this second half is going to be like the replay of the Alamo.
Yeah, I said afterwards to the press, and I think it was true, it would have been easy to come out and lose 3-2, and everybody said, oh, Wycombe had a real go for the first half, you know, well done, but thanks very much, we've got the points. It would have been easy to do that, and it would have been easy for a team to sort of say, well, we've done well for a half, that'll do us now. But to be fair to them, I said, look, you've got to be prepared to play at this level and on these type of facilities in front of these type of crowds against pressure. But don't defend deep, get yourself up. You know that these two up front are going to cause them problems because they've done it all first half. Give them the ball, get it behind them. And I thought second half, we had to defend. Yeah, we had to defend like you'd expect to do at Main Road when they're chasing the win. But I didn't think. I thought we deserved, for the defending we did, to come away with something. I thought we deserved it. And as I say, Sean had a half chance, Beatty had a half chance. There were one or two chances going begging at our end as well. And we soaked up everything they had to offer, and we came away with it. And that's what you deserve. If you defend well, you deserve your rewards. And we got our rewards that day. Again, Bruce came in and played for us, didn't he? His first game for 14 months. And alongside Macca, they were magnificent at the back in that game. But the whole team were. I mean, the whole team were magnificent that day.
Well, then we move on to Notts County, and again it was a bit more of the same, really. To me, it only looked as if a mistake was going to win that game, because again we struggled to do something with the big three defenders.
Yeah, I mean, they strung them across the back, and again we were beaten up in the air, and we do have a penchant for putting the ball on big centre-halves' heads. But I said at half-time it's going to be a mistake game. Look, if we have to get a draw from here, that'll do me. 4 points out of these two games, Man City and Notts County, will do me. Don't be the one that makes a mistake. And as it happens, it was Emblem that made the mistake. I mean, he got caught on the edge of his box, the ball's bounced, and Bates has handled the ball. And that was all that was ever going to win that game. And we came back and we were all dejected and everything. But, I mean, I remember you saying to me that Martin O'Neill had been at the game and said, well, if you said before the two games you'd have got 3 points from him, you'd have taken it. And I would have taken 2 points from the two games. So, disappointed as we were, it was still in our own hands. And I like to think, well, that was good. I was grateful for that.
Wycombe are making hard work of it as they battle to beat the drop. 2 more precious points dropped. How costly they could prove. Sean Devine took just over a minute to make his mark on this fixture. The former Barnet frontman has proved an instant hit since joining Wycombe. Blackpool, though, were level after quarter of an hour. Homekeeper Martin Taylor could only parry the ball into the path of Brett Ormerod. Wycombe did manage to re-establish their lead within a minute. Dave Carroll was presented with a free header, and from this platform they really should have got on and won this fixture. Once again they failed to kill off the opposition, unable to hold on to a 2-1 scoreline, and it was Phil Clarkson who punished them with the equaliser after an hour. Wycombe boss Lawrie Sanchez has set a survival target of 51. It means they'll have to win their final 2 games.
And I think the next game, Blackpool at home here on the Saturday, it looked as if nerves had got to everybody here, because it was a very jittery performance. And I now remember a sensational save by Martin Taylor when it was 2 each that probably kept us in that game from a free kick.
Yeah, we came back and I'd said that it might go to we need to win all the last three games. I thought, looking at it early doors, we might have to win the last 3 games of the season. Blackpool, Wigan at home, and then Lincoln away. And I thought we could do that. But as you say, it was a jittery performance. We had the best start we could possibly have. We went 1-0 up in the first minute, 34 seconds for the free kick. The ball was in the goal within a minute. And you're thinking, well, this is going to be all right. And then we lost our way, and they got a goal back. Then we equalised straight away again, and you think, well, it's going to be our day. But then, again, we lost our way second half for some reason. It was nerves. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The crowd were nervous, and that transmitted itself to the players, and the players made mistakes, and the crowd got all nervous again. And they got back in it, and as you say, there was a free kick that Martin's pulled off a great save. But for that, we could have lost. I remember Gibbo saying to me, and I was saying, oh, we've got to win it. Gibbo saying, look, we haven't got to win the game. You know, let's come away with a point. If the worst is we come away with a point, we come away with a point. And I remember afterwards, everybody was dejected, and the fans were dejected, and everybody thought it was the end of the world. We've come in and we've got a point, so it wasn't the end of the world, but what it was out of our hands then, because Northampton had to play on the Monday, and subsequently they drew, which put everything back in our own hands and came to the big Wigan game.
Will allow Sharp to have a free header down for Barlow, back to Sharp. Porter makes a run forward. He tries to flick it on, it drops back to him, and his shot is saved well by Taylor, but drops to Horwath. And just into the last 5 minutes of this first half, and just what Wycombe didn't want. Bates this time with the ball in, has Emblin there. Emblin heads it on. Tries to drop to Sean Devine. Emblin looking to pick up the pieces. Hasn't got anybody there. Little twist and turn. Gets it in. Devine with a chance! It's a goal! Sean Devine! Just what the doctor ordered. Devine gets the equaliser in the last minute before half time. And that really sets Wycombe up. Emblin back to Lawrence. Lawrence has time to line up across. In it goes. He's got Carroll on the far side. Carroll tries to guide it down for Devine, who's there again. Misses a kick. Keith Ryan. It's going to go in. It's a goal off of Paul Emblin. The perfect start to the second half. A scrappy goal, but who cares? The ball across from Matt Lawrence, headed down by Dave Carroll. Devine initially with his effort, scuffed his shot. It came out to Keith Ryan. And Ryan's shot deflected up off of Paul Emblin. As we come into the last 5 minutes, can't believe anybody is going to leave this game early. Dave Carroll out on the far side, and that's where Lawrence's ball looks for. Carroll heads it back in. It's into the feet of Sean Devine. Perhaps looking to try and twist and turn. Does so well. Good save. What a good effort by Sean Devine, matched by the save of Roy Carroll.
What a night that was. I mean, right from the word go, the atmosphere here early on in the ground, amongst the staff and everybody here behind the scenes, was really building up to the state, I think, that when the ball actually rolled for that first kick-off, everybody was, you know, it was unbelievable.
Again, it's got to go up there with one of the performances, you know, alongside Man City. For me, that performance, I thought we played excellent football that night. It was a great night for football. It was wet. There was a nice dew on top. There was nice and skiddy on top. In evening games, always give that sort of nice atmosphere. And I thought from the word go, I mean, I was confident from the word go because we played some terrific football. Passed the ball, got it down. I know we're going to come into it off the back of a long run of games, but you've got to do what you've got to do. And I thought on the night we did everything required. And of course we went 1-0 down again, didn't we? We showed great strength of character to come back from that. Again, Sean's got us the equaliser just before half time. And then it was a matter of time. I mean, the goal came almost immediately in the second half. And once we got the second goal, I thought that'd be it. They chucked stuff forward, but I thought we dominated the game from beginning to end, really. And probably for me, over 90 minutes, probably the best footballing performance we put on, I thought, against a team that I think are probably the best team that we've played in the 18 games I've been in charge. They looked strong. They had everything about them. They had intelligent midfield. They had good forwards in Horwath and Barlow. And I was pleased in the end of the day that they actually did get in the playoffs with their last game. I mean, because the running that they had to do after the auto windscreens was, you know, tremendous. Really, it was hard work, but it was good for them to get there. I was pleased for them.
Now we move on to the last game at Lincoln. Let's just go back a few games because I can't exactly remember the right time, but certainly around the Stoke-Manchester City games, you came up with the idea of let's offer the fans a free trip to Lincoln if they buy a seat and get as many people there as we possibly could to get behind the team for what was surely to be an enormous game.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it on the way back from Stoke, didn't we? That we'd read in the papers one or two other teams were doing it, and you know we discussed it. And I put it to Ivor, and he said he'd have a chat with his directors, and they had a chat, and they thought, yeah, it was a good idea. And it was a big gamble, to be honest, because the booking of the coaches and everything that went with it. You know, if we'd have lost to Wigan, we could have been going up there for for a funeral, really. But as anybody who was here at the Wigan game will have seen, they were queuing around the block afterwards, and I think we took 10 coaches added on after that game. And you know, to take 30 coaches up there was terrific. I think it was terrific for the fans as well, to show that, you know, sometimes you support in isolation and think it's only you. When you suddenly realise there's 30 coaches full of you as well that are as mad as you, I think it's great. It's great. And to take 2,500 people there for that game showed how much the club's loved by the fans, you know. And the fans have come under a bit. I mean, I'll give them a bit of stick. I know Alan Parry has over the years about their, not so much their dedication, but their enthusiasm. You know, once they get there, that they tend to sit and accept it. And hopefully, you know, I've wound them up a little bit this year, and they've responded with the music and such like. And even if they don't like it, at least it's that they've responded to it. And for 2,500 to come there, I think brought it through to me and to everybody at the club involved, you know, how much it does mean to the fans.
My greatest joy this year was coming down here on the day that the coaches went to Lincoln, and to see the excitement, to see the encouragement of all those people that were going to Lincoln on coaches, and to say thank you very much for all the support you've given us this year was absolutely fantastic. It was like going to Wembley again.
And so it's down to the very last game of season 1998-99 at Sincil Bank, Lincoln. The team's led out by referee Mr. Gurnham Singh, as Wycombe now come out and are thoroughly and utterly determined that they will be in Division 2 next season, and Lincoln City will be going back to Division 3. The support is absolutely fantastic. Wycombe have turned out in their thousands to come and really give as much support as possible, and the manager, of course, is as relaxed as ever. The game starts really well for the Blues. They open up quite splendidly. David Carroll had a wonderful first half. This ball returned into the box, so nearly got on the end of by Sean Devine, and that was just one of a number of excellent moments for Wycombe in that first 45 minutes. Possibly the biggest game Wycombe have had to face since joining the Football League, and winning, of course, at Wembley against Preston North End. This one for the ultimate survival in the second division. Just one of the very few chances that Lincoln did manage to create. Martin Taylor smothering the ball with real ease. While at the other end of the field, Wycombe determined to keep the pressure up. It's that man Carroll again involved, as the ball is knocked into the box, long to the far post, headed back across the goal, and Andrew Baird takes it on the top of his head when it looked easier to score. But the men on the bench seem to accept that and just stay very, very cool under a moment that everybody behind that goal felt that Wycombe Wanderers might have taken the lead. Corner from Dave Carroll, right to the far post again, and it's handball without a shadow of a doubt. Where was Mr. Gurnham Singh? Unfortunately, he didn't see it, but he probably was the only man in the ground not to have done. David Carroll picks up the loose ball, and again Lincoln have to clear their lines. Radios are now out. Everybody's keen to know what's happening in various parts of the country. Who's winning, who's drawing, who's losing, as Wycombe still draw 0-0 at Lincoln. Right at the start of the second half, Lawrie Sanchez emerges from the dressing room, having wound the team up, making every effort to make sure they can win this game. It's a brief chat with Chairman Ivor Beeks, trying to find out what's happening at around the grounds in the rest of the country. I think the face says it all. Wycombe have to win. A long throw, a real moment of anguish as the ball's loose, but Taylor once more grabs away the danger. This time it's Wycombe with a free kick. Swung right to the far post, headed back by Emblem. Did it go in? But it certainly hit the bar. And again, Lincoln City managed to clear their lines. Long throw. This could be a problem. The ball's bouncing around like a balloon. Bates is there. Carroll's there. Taylor can't get it. It's swung across the face of the goal. Luckily, it's just too deep. Wycombe get time to regroup. This ball has got to go away, and finally it's Lincoln that put a very good chance for them behind the goal. The minutes tick away as Dave Carroll sets this free kick up long and deep, right to the edge of the area. Headed away once more by Lincoln. This time it's Bates with the shot. It's loose again. Can Forsyth do something with it? No, he can't, as Lincoln clear again. Carroll once more, feeds it back in. Comes to Emblem. This could be the start of something good here. Brown for Devine. Can Devine turn and clip this one across? He can. Emblem's there. Wycombe have scored. It's 1-0 to Wycombe Wanderers with 7 minutes to go. The bench know that. They can feel it. Everybody in the ground knows that that could be the goal that could keep Wycombe Wanderers in the Football League for yet another season. And the scenes of joy and jubilation as goal scorer Paul Emblem, who's just written himself into the history books for Wycombe Wanderers, is congratulated there by the man that crossed the ball, Sean Devine. Lawrie Sanchez prowls the touchline in memorable fashion, just letting the players know that it's almost all over. The referee's about to blow his whistle, and the whistle's gone. Everybody rushes on, except the manager, who just strolls on in his formidable manner, accepting the fact that Wycombe Wanderers have won this fantastic game. And all the players now stream off to the safety of the dressing room. Lincoln City 0, Wycombe Wanderers 1. That result at Sincil Bank means Wycombe are out of the red for the very first time on the very last day of the season. Other results around the country ended: Manchester City 4, York City 1, York were relegated. Oldham 2, Reading 0, Oldham stay up. Northampton 2, Burnley 2, Northampton relegated. And Lincoln 0, Wycombe 1, mission accomplished.
Oh, that must have been some feeling, I think. Oh, it's brilliant. Can't explain it. It's just a dream day for me and the lads to manage to stay in Division 2. It's been the last 2 games you've played in a position I understand you prefer. Well, yeah, I came from non-league to Charlton. They bought me as a forward, so I'm used to playing in that position, and I enjoy it. I've played 2 games now up front and scored 2, so well, it's pretty natural for me playing up there. Lawrie Sanchez, you were Mr. Cool, I think, at the end of that game, remarkably.
Not cool. I mean, we've avoided relegation. I mean, as I said in the press lounge, that's a great achievement. You know, when I came to the club to do that for the players and the fans. But it is an avoiding relegation. We haven't won anything, and I always thought that we could do it. And I said at half-time to the players, you know, if it takes the last minute of the game to score, I think one team avoided relegation a day on the last minute of the game. So be it. I mean, we scored 10 minutes ago. We had plenty of time.
Ivor, quite a special feeling at full time.
Relief, joy, and amazement, I suppose, really, because we were dead and buried 6 weeks ago, and we've risen from the ashes, haven't we? Fantastic.
It's a testament, I think, to Lawrie Sanchez. He looked the coolest man standing on the touchline, which was amazing in the circumstances.
He is Mr. Cool. And as I just said, when his very first day in the office, he sat down at his desk, and I walked in his office for the first time, and he said, "Chairman, I am the man for the job." And I used those words to him just now, and I just said to him, "You are the man for the job," and that sums it all up. really, because what he's done in these few weeks that he's been here, and it is a few weeks, is quite unbelievable. I don't think anybody could have turned it round like that. That's quite incredible.
I said to the chairman when I took the job over, if we've got to go to Lincoln last game of the season winning to guarantee promotion, I'll have that. And that's what it was, and that's what we achieved.
Yeah, I mean, it was a remarkable afternoon because I thought we dominated the game. There was a period in the second half when they came into it a bit with the win, but it was all Wycombe. But I must admit, sitting up doing the commentary, it didn't look at times as if we were going to get the goal.
You couldn't see where a goal would come from, could you? You couldn't see that we dominated it and we had half chances. We never really tested the keeper, and you just couldn't see where a goal was coming from. Little change with Brownie coming in. It's ironic actually that Emblem thought he was being dragged off and was almost coming off. I mean, he got within about 4 or 5 yards of the touchline, which if it had come off, as you've told me since, he wouldn't have been able to go back on. That was just a muck up in communication. Why, I don't know what happened. But it was always Baird coming off, and he was sent back on. Brown, who came on, slotted the ball through for Devine, and ironic that Sean, who scored 8 goals in his 10, 11 games here, didn't actually score the one that got us, or kept us up. But he passed it, he made it. I mean, it was a great little ball in, an Emblem off his head, which I don't think is he's quite renowned for, has looped one into the far corner. And you can go from being a villain to a hero in the course of 10 days or so, from the Notts County game to then. And he'll be remembered for that, and good luck to him. I said at the Wigan game, it's great now. You set up, one of you can be a hero here. You score a goal that keeps us up. That's all people talk about. It'll be your goal. I've been there. I mean, in Wimbledon folklore, I'm the bloke that scored the goal in the cup final. Be in the right place at the right time. Make sure it's you. In the end of the day, it was Emblem.
Yeah. Other little story we must just touch on too. The ball that we actually won the game with was one of our own club footballs. Tell us about that.
But we took, I mean, from the days of Becky, Lincoln have been renowned for gamesmanship, and their dress rooms are painted dark brown, and they locked us out of the dress room, wouldn't let us in there before the game, and they give you flat balls to train with. So we brought our own balls up. Jim had brought the balls up. We were knocking about with them. Of course, when one of the balls must have gone out, one of the ones chucked from the bench must have been ours. Reams, is it Reams? John Reams. He gave the ball to our chairman. He said, "Well, you may as well have this. This is the one you kept yourself up with." He gave it to the chairman. Chairman brought it back over to Jim, and Jim said it's one of our balls anyway because it's got YT on it. Strange, strange things happen in life and in football. So no, and I think it's going to be auctioned, isn't it? I mean, I think the ball's going to be auctioned for charity. But things like that are, nice little side notes on a great day. It was a pity that we couldn't go and celebrate with the fans afterwards because Lincoln, for whatever reason, decided to hold their Man of the Match, Man of the Season awards after the final whistle of the season rather than before it. So with their fans coming on, I know it intimidated our fans a little bit, and they just left, and we never really had a chance until we came back to the club here to celebrate together. And it was a long journey. I mean, 18 games. I think we won 8, drew 4, and lost 6, didn't we? And at times, I remember coming in here, and I remember thinking, well, it's going to be hard work. It's a long way, and there was a lot of downs in that time as well as ups. Because the situation was that from the first game I took on Fulham, everybody was always saying you have to win every game. Of course, it wasn't necessarily true because we only had to win 9 of the games. But we had, the emphasis was one: you got to win every game. And when you don't win it, everybody thinks, oh, it's the end of the world. Of course, it isn't the end of the world because if you put a little run together like we had away from home, and I think, what did we win away from home at the end of the day? 6.
6 away from home, which is quite remarkable.
6,
unbelievable.
And in fact, only won 2 at home under my time here. Which is a strange way to do it, really, isn't it? But we had to win away from home. The fact that we hadn't won before I came here, that was where we had to get our points, and we turned it round. Now we can go anywhere and play anywhere, and I think we're going to win games.
The cost of actually disappearing down the hole into Division 3, with no disrespects to anybody that's in Division 3, really would have been horrendous for us. I mean, it's not that brilliant in terms of financially now. We've still got a budget to meet and figures to try and get to, but it certainly is a lot better than what it could have been.
It takes a couple of days to sink in. I mean, people said to me, oh, you weren't celebrating, but I'm one of those people that likes to have a think, and I had a long think on the coach on the way back. about the whole season, not just about the 18 games I've been here, but about my whole personal season. And it's been an emotional season for me. But it's nice that he finished on, you know, on a good note. And I'd much rather be playing the Oxfords, the Brentfords, the Bristol Cities, the Readings, than going to Carlisle, Hartlepool, you know, Rochdale. With all due respect to those clubs, I mean, it's a much better division to be in. I think we'll do better in this division with the team we've got than perhaps, you know, we would have done in lower down, because lower down there is a big difference in the way football is played. I mean, there isn't too much football played. I think you have to be big, strong and aggressive, and that might not have suited us as much as this division. I think next year, I'm looking forward to it now. I mean, I'm looking forward to it more when we come back in July than I am now, but you know, the travelling is less, which is important. You don't want to be spending every night, or you know, it's important for the fans as well. They don't want to be travelling up and down a motorway, you know, 4 or 5 hours to every away game. They're good clubs, they're big clubs, there'll be a lot of good local derbies, and it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting division. As I say, I'm looking forward to it. We need 1 or 2 perhaps to improve the squad that we've got, but all the squad here now signed up for next season, so I haven't got to worry too much about present contracts. It's just about the 1 or 2 that we add to it to take us to perhaps that next step. And I think, as I said to the fans, that I don't expect to be fighting relegation. I know there's been 3 fights against relegation the last 3 years here. I'm expecting next year that, you know, the fight we're having is to get into the playoffs rather than the other way, rather than fighting against relegation.
Just let's go back to when he was appointed, because I know when he came in, the board said to him, look, there are 3 things we want you to do, and he's really achieved all of that.
Well, yeah, I did say to the Buxley press after the match that he's achieved everything that we asked, the 3 items, and I did say tongue-in-cheek, I wish I'd have found a 4th. But I mean, yes, we asked him to raise over 200,000, he's done that. We asked him to keep us in the 2nd division, he's done that. And we asked him to trim the wage bill and get rid of a number of players, and he's done that. So as I go in a moment to a meeting with him, I've got 6 things this time. One of them is playoffs and win at Wembley, which I don't think is too difficult a task after what he's achieved this year, really.
And finally, let's just have a look at the chart here, Lawrie.
I said to the chairman when I took the job over, what do you reckon, how many points do you reckon? And we worked out 51 at the end of the day. We worked out, he thought 51 was too many. I thought, well, let's be on the safe side rather than the low side and get 48 and be relegated with it. So we took 51 as a cut-off point that would be safety. And we were spot on. After the weekend game, we needed 3 points at Lincoln to get there. As you can say, we reached that 51 line, and we stayed up. There were ups and downs. You can look at the chart. You know, the downs are there. But from the Reading game onwards, I think in the last 11 games we took 23 out of 33 points. That, under any circumstances, is tremendous form. You know, if we were at the top of the table, that'd be promotion form. We've got to make sure that we take that type of form, you know, into the beginning of the next season. Instead of waiting 12 games for a win, if we can start showing that form from the day go, then we could have an interesting season.
You haven't won anything yet, but this is a terrific achievement, and to some people, it's as good as winning the league.
Well, I mean, the fans have been very good to me. I've got to thank them. I mean, you know, you need the fans on your side, and from the word go, from the Fulham game onwards, I mean, I know they thought, well, what's he going to be like, and you have to prove to them. But they've been very good to me, and you know, I just like to thank them for their support and for coming up to Lincoln, and I hope that it showed how much the club, you know, how much the club appreciate the fans. And I would say, I mean, as a final thing, anybody buying this video, I would say, you know, come and buy a season ticket. The more people that join in season tickets, the more people that join us, gives me more money to improve the team. And if they want a good team, then they've got to, you know, the more season tickets they buy, the more money is available to me.
After we won at Lincoln, I wandered down to the stand where all our fans were, and it was absolutely brilliant. And you know, if I could encourage all of those people to actually come and buy a season ticket, plus another 1,000 or so, a lot of our problems would be over. And it really is important this year that we try and maximise on that support, that encouragement, and actually get a lot of our people buying season tickets. I'm sure when they see what we're trying to do in terms of giving them value for money in the cost of that, and what Lawrie's trying to do in giving in terms of value for money and what he's trying to do out there, there isn't a reason why you shouldn't buy a season ticket this year.
And apart from that, of course, if they do actually turn out and buy the season tickets, it's likely to mean the manager will have a bit more money to spend on strengthening the team and getting better things for the club.
You've obviously been talking to him before I've got in there. I wouldn't say that on camera. That is the situation. But it certainly will help. There are a number of other things that have to go to it as well. But yes, it could help.
Okay, well, tremendous season, wonderful finish. And as always, Mr. Chairman, lovely to talk to you at the end of a season when we all feel a bit relieved.
Yes, I've been wearing this smile now for about 7 days. Long may it continue. Thank you.